Part 31, who the fuck did I marry? So I found his mother's obituary online. It then told me it listed the it listed his brother in Philly and his wife. It listed Legion, and then it said his wife. I took the name from the obituary and I did a Metro Atlanta court search with that name. I found a divorce record. I found a divorce record with Legion and the same woman's name that was in the obituary. In that divorce record, it looks like he's the one that filed for divorce. This would have been around 2016. This was after the mother's death. He filed for divorce. She was the respondent. I think that's the correct terminology. Both had a temporary protection order against each other. He had one against her. She had one against him. The divorce ended up getting granted, finalized. Then it looks like he went on his way. In the course of the search for her name, I discovered that at one point in time, the two of them had lived in Rhode Island. So that's the connection with Rhode Island, because for the longest time I could not figure out who lived in Rhode Island. That's where that came from. The two of them, he and this woman, lived in Rhode Island several years prior, or a few years prior. I could not find the obituary for his dad. I searched and I searched. I could not find the obituary for his father. For whatever reason, I knew his grandmother's name. I just randomly decided to do a Google search of the grandmother's name. Initially, nothing came up because I was looking for the grandmother's name in Philly. Nothing came up. I looked for the grandmother's name down here in Georgia. Found a record, but it wasn't quite clear. What was clear was that she had died several years prior. So what I found was a different website where it was like a legacy.com type thing. So I believe legacy.com holds old obituaries. Did a search for her name, found a match. That is when I discovered that she actually had passed away in July of 2008. Read the caption of the obituary and verified that in fact it was his grandmother. Because at the bottom of it, again, obituaries tell you a lot. It names who she leaves to cherish her memory. So it lists all the different family members. It lists the brother in Philly. It lists Legion, no spouse, and then a brother in Nashville. Once again, it did not list the two sisters, Shantae and Kim. So I'm even more like, okay, clearly something, is up when it comes to Shantae and Kim. But what I do know is that he has talked to them multiple times in front of me. So I'm not sure what I'm missing. Maybe some family feud happened. I don't know. So that is how I discovered that when he told me the grandmother died from COVID and he was crying, boo-hooing and all that shit, she actually had died in July of 2008. I found this out the same time that I found out about allegedly, and I say allegedly because I'll explain, allegedly the first wife, or at least what I think is the first wife. So while all this is going on, Legion is almost bedridden from what happened with his knee. And I need to take a moment to address this issue with the knee. Again, the story started he hit his knee. Then it turned into, it was an old football injury. And this has happened before. He's going to the doctor. The doctor's telling him to ice it and to elevate it. He eventually moves into the guest bedroom to be more comfortable. I'm going to make this statement. This is probably the only time I will make this statement. He was not lying about the injury that he had. I don't know where the injury came from, but what I do know was he was not lying in the fact that he was in pain. You could clearly see that he was in pain, and the pain was becoming debilitating. Please understand what I'm saying. The pain was debilitating enough to where he was taking my pain meds from when I had the miscarriage. And then also, it was hard for him to walk. He was not eating. So this is what made me believe this, whatever was going on with the knee, there was more to it, because he was not eating. When I met this man, he was a size 3X. At this point in time in May, he's down to a 2X. He is not exercising. He is not doing anything mobile. He's simply not eating. So there definitely was something going on, something concerning. Honestly, I thought it might have been cancer. But he kept saying, no, it's not that. It's from a football injury. It's from a football injury. I said to him, the next time you have a doctor's appointment, I want to go. It was that bad. And he kept making excuses like, okay, fine, I'll make the appointment. I'll let you know what it is. Cool, I will take off work. I want to be at that doctor's appointment, because whatever is going on with you is serious, to the point where you are losing weight rapidly within a 2-week span. So now we can go ahead and enter into June. When we enter into June, I have verified, read the divorce documents for not one wife, but 2 wives. I have called San Diego State, verified they have no record of him. He claims he was a private citizen. I don't believe that. They're saying there's no record of him. I have pulled his background. It is showing that you've lived in Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Georgia. When I look at the addresses, it is tied to at least 2 women, both of whom I'm showing divorce records on file that you had. I've also verified that your grandmother actually died in 2008 and not in 2020 from COVID. I know all of this as I'm going into June. His birthday is June 17th. So all I've been doing is just trying to figure out what is it I'm going to do. I spoke to the pastor and his wife. I believe it was actually the pastor I spoke to, because I knew the pastor previously, before he did our marriage counseling. And I told him what I found. Mind blown. Mind blown. Had no idea. He knew something was up. He knew that Legion was not really trying to make this marriage work. He had no idea all this was going on. So he asked me, are you wanting to stay, or do you want to end the marriage? I said, oh, absolutely, I'm ending it. Oh, hell yeah, I'm ending it. I have to. I have to end it. I have no idea who that man is in my guest bedroom. Not to mention, on top of all of this, he had lied about the death of the ex-wife's daughter. Part 32. Part 32. Who the fuck did I marry? All right. So we're now in June. By this point in June, I have been offered the new job, accepted it, put in my 2-week notice at my previous job, and was going to be starting the new job later on in the month. So when he laughed where I told him I wanted to get a new job, that laughter fueled me to get a new job. So here's what happened the beginning of June. At this point, he's completely bedridden. When I say completely bedridden, what I mean is, I'm trying to clarify this so it makes sense. From what I see, he is going to work, but he's calling out a lot more. Okay. So he had already left the condiment company and was working for Apple. So he's calling out quite a bit because the pain is pretty bad. So he's hardly eating at this point, hardly. For example, if I were to say, oh, I ordered a 10-piece wings, he's eating 2. And that's it. That's all I would see him eat. Well, I was going to work and coming home. The house was in the exact same place that it was when I left. Nothing in the kitchen had been moved. Nothing in the refrigerator had been moved, which led me to believe that he had not left the bed from the time I left to go to work until the time I came home. At this point in time, he's drinking Powerades like it's water. I mean, I'm buying cases of Powerades. And that seemed to be the only thing that he was taking in. So if he was a 3X when I met him, he's probably at a 1X, maybe a 2X, depending on the clothes. He's lost a lot of weight because he's not eating. So that's the reason why I say he wasn't faking whatever was going on. I think the issue with his knee was a symptom. That was not some football injury. That was not, I hit it at work. It wasn't that. Something else was going on. I had kept asking him to, let me know when you have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to go with you. And he just kept saying he's calling the doctor, and the doctor told him to just keep icing the knee. But I knew better. What was happening was I didn't care because of all the stuff I was finding out. So beginning of June, he is in the bed, sleep, and I get his phone. I ain't gonna lie. I got his phone. He had a work phone and he had a personal phone. It was the work phone that he had from the condiment company that apparently was never turned in. Follow me. It'll all come out. So he still had the work phone. It was deactivated. But he did not wipe the phone, if y'all know what I mean. Take all the data off. He did not do that. So I look through the phone and I see this would have been text messages. Text messages between him and a woman named Peaches. I go back to the beginning of the text messages. This is on the work phone. This is the beginning of June of 2021. I go back to the text messages the beginning of the text messages between him and Peaches. Yes, that was her name, Peaches. I'm reading the thread because he's knocked out sleep. So I'm in the bathroom with the door locked, reading the thread. And what I can tell is that he met Peaches on POF. If you don't know what POF is, it is Plenty of Fish, a dating website. He met Peaches. I saw the messages in June, so he met Peaches around February. Met Peaches from POF. And apparently Peaches was, there's no nice way to say it. Apparently Peaches was a prostitute. So, and the reason why I say that is because in the text messages, she's listing the prices. So he asked for a hand job. This is in the text messages. She told him it would be like $40. He asked how much would it be for oral. She said it would be $60, because it was $60 and $80. One was the price with the condom, one was the price without one. So no messages after that. She sent a picture, he sent a picture. no messages after that. So in other words, these messages were not back to back every single day. There's breaks in between the messages. So like a message was in March, the next message is in April. A message in April, next message is like 2 weeks later. So he's asking her the prices. Next message I see would have been from a few weeks prior to the date of this. So this was the beginning of June. The message is from sometime beginning of May, where he is thanking her and says to her, you know, thank you so much. That was really great. I hope I can see you again. Then there's messages where she said, hey, basically she was at a new spot. She must have moved. So he said, okay, I'm gonna come through. I'm gonna come see you. He's asking her to confirm the address. He was like, is it the house with the brown trash can with a white car in the front? She says, yes. So I'm thinking he was actually in front of the house when he's texting these messages. Then again, he does whatever he does, and he sends her a message a few hours later saying, thank you. That was great. I'm reading all this. And I will tell you guys something that you may or may not understand. Some women may or may not understand it. The cheating didn't even faze me. Didn't even faze me. I didn't cry. I did not feel like, what did I do wrong? I was relieved. The reason why I was relieved is because up until this point, I kind of struggled a little bit on whether or not, God, you know, I know, Lord, you hate divorce, but I can't stay with a guy that lies. So when I saw the cheating stuff, I was like, oh shoot, thank you, Jesus. Okay. Cause I know my Father in heaven's going to forgive the fact that I'm going to divorce him for infidelity. Go ahead. It's fine. Jesus will forgive me. So I was relieved, to be honest with you. Like, oh, okay. I got grounds now, bitch. That's how I felt. So saw the messages, forwarded the messages to my phone. Or excuse me, I had to take my phone because the phone was deactivated. So I kind of had to do a little ghetto. Hold the phone up, take my phone, and take pictures of what I see on the phone, so that I would have proof on my phone. Then I put the phone back and continued on. Now, in the next part is the day that he gets kicked out. And I will tell y'all what happened. Part 33, who the fuck did I marry? June 17th, 2021. So, you guys have been on this ride. You now know exactly what information I did have. The morning of June 17th, which was his birthday, he was in the bed as usual. Powerade bottles all over the place because I wasn't in the mood to clean. And so I went in his room. He was awake. He was watching YouTube on his cell phone. He watched a lot of YouTube, watching these two guys that always were fixing Jeeps on YouTube. And if I saw them, I would know exactly who they are, but I can't remember their name. It's a popular show on YouTube. Anyway, so I go in there and I just calmly sit on the edge of the bed. And I was like, can we talk? And he was like, yeah, what's up? I said to him, I said, Legion. Obviously, I called him his name. Legion. I said, I'm going to ask you something. I just want you to be honest with me. So he starts, I can already see in his eyes, he's about to get defensive. And I was like, calm. Because this is the tone I had. Calm. I said, you never went to San Diego State, did you? He rolls his eyes and he's like, I said, calm down. Watch your tone. I said, you never went to San Diego State. I said, you never lived in California, did you? And he said, of course I lived in California. He was like, I fucking showed you the house I had in California. He said, and I told you about San Diego State. I was a private citizen. My dad paid for me to be a private citizen. And I said, okay. I said, I called San Diego State. And he looked at me. His eyes were like empty. Like, he wasn't shocked. He wasn't like, oh my God. He was just more like, okay. I said, they have no record of you. I said, they have no record because you never went. You never been to California. So at this point, I'm very calm. And I'm just stating, I said, you never been to California. I said, I bet you've only lived in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. At this point, now there's a little emotion behind the eyes. And I said, I don't think that this is going to work. And he said, what, the marriage? He was like, so what you saying? You don't want to be married to me anymore? And I said, I don't want to be married to you anymore. I said, we need to go our separate ways. We tried, but we need to go our separate ways. The way that I am talking to you all is exactly how I was talking to him. And so he was like, that's not what marriage is. Marriage is, you have to fight for what you want. I said, I don't want this. And I don't want to fight for it. I said, I don't want you, and I don't want this. And so he was like, I'm not giving up on the two of us. I said, you don't have a choice. I said, I think that you should call your brother or your sister now. And I think that you need to pack a bag. And I think you need to get the fuck out my house. And he was like, I don't really have time for this. I don't feel well. I said, I don't care. You need to get out of my house. Again, the way I know y'all are going to be like, she's so dramatic. And I am actually a very dramatic person. But the way that I'm talking to you guys on this video is exactly how I was talking to him in the beginning of how this started. So I said, you need to call your brother, or call your sister, because she's in Douglasville, and you need to go stay there. You need to get out this house today. Basically what happened was, at first, he refused. He wasn't moving fast enough for me. And so he called his aunt. And his aunt was on speakerphone. Let me preface that. She was on speakerphone. And so she was like, what's going on? And he was like, my wife don't want me no more. She claimed that I be lying to her. I ain't never lied to her. When I heard this, what's the analogy I can give y'all? When I heard him say to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her before, something in me snapped. The best analogy I can give you, do y'all remember that movie Carrie? When she was at the prom and everyone was laughing at her. The blood had fallen down on her. And there was a moment where her eyes just went wild. And you knew something was about to happen. You just didn't know what. But y'all had pushed her too far. When he said to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her, I snapped. The calmness left. The amount of rage that was in me. I could have fought every member of the Kansas City Chiefs and beat every last one of their asses. I could have fought every member on the Atlanta Falcons and beat every last one of their asses. I'm not a violent person, but I was there. That statement, I ain't never lied to her, took me there. I went off. I went off. I went off so bad that first of all, every part of me was shaking. I called my mom. My mom was on speakerphone, and she's in Arkansas. My mom's a praying woman. I was cussing like a sailor. My mom finally said, put him on the phone. So I gave him the phone, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking around the room. Is the scene that I remember is the Angela Bassett scene in Waiting to Exhale, when her eyes are darting around the room right before she grabs everything to put it in the car to set it on fire. I was more so looking at what weapons were in the room: the lamp, the TV, the dresser. I was looking more. I mean, I was, while she was talking to him, my eyes were darting around the room, because if he did not get his ass up and get his shit and get up out of my house, it was going to be bad. If I have never in my life been on TikTok and said if had it not been for the blood, y'all, I know this is going to sound dramatic. I know this is going to sound like, girl, you so funny. You don't understand. Had it not been for the Lord on my side, had it not been for the fact that I know I got a praying mother, I know I had a praying aunt, I know I've had a praying grandmother in heaven, because I'm telling you, I clearly saw what was getting ready to happen had he not gotten up, got his shit, and got out of my house. So I'm trying to calmly say this, because I'm trying to calmly tell this story, because the rage had taken over me. The pure, unadulterated rage that I felt when he said to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her, after I had discovered only 2% of the lies at that point. Just 2%. So it was enough for me to be like, you need to get your stuff and go. So my mother gets on the phone and she says to him, Legion, she called him by name. She said, I am not there to control my daughter. She said, in the name of Jesus, get your stuff and get out that house, because I think she might kill you. Get out of the house. She's on my phone. His aunt is on his phone. His aunt said, nephew, come home. Home for her was Philly. She said, I'll send you money. Come home. Leave that house right now, she said, because I think that woman is about to kill you. Let's just go to part 34. Let's all just take a deep breath. Part 34. Who the fuck did I marry? So the aunt told him, I'll send you money. Come home. I'm yelling in the background, by the way. I'm not standing there calmly. I'm yelling. I said, oh, he got money. Yeah, you got money. You got money in that offshore account, right? You got money in that Chase account. You got money to drive. So do what you got to do. I told him, and I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff I said, because my mom might see this TikTok. But I did tell him, I was like, if you don't get out of this house, actually what I said was, you have two options. You either going to leave this house voluntarily, or you're going to leave this house involuntarily. And he tried to get a little nuck if you buck. He tried. And that's when because he was still on the bed, still laying in the bed. And he was just like, you ain't gonna do shit. Like, don't talk to me like you done lost your fucking mind. Da, da, da. And I calmly got close to him. I got like this close. And I literally said, I will beat you like the bitch you are. I dare you to try me. I said, I will literally beat you like the male bitch you are. And so when I said that, his eyes were like, I said, I'm not even playing. Because at this point, I'm rocking like back and forth. Y'all, again, I'm not some hardened type chick. I'm not. I want the soft lifestyle. But I have been pushed to the point. So I'm rocking, I'm walking back, I'm pacing. So finally, his aunt was able to get through to him. I had called my aunt, my mother, my aunt. I had called the pastor. I had called all these people, because I did know that I was in a very dangerous place. Not because I'm scared of him. At this point, I was scared of me. I don't know if this has ever happened to someone where you know yourself. You know that you got a line. I was over that line. So I had enough wherewithal to be like, okay, you probably gonna go to jail today. You probably gonna go to jail. You probably ain't gonna have that job in the morning. Like I was there. And again, this is not to sound bragging at all. This was a woman who I could not believe that even with the attempt of me trying to give him one last opportunity to tell me the truth, he still lied in my face. I was at my edge. So I yanked the covers back, and I told him, I was like, get up, get the fuck out my house. Again, I'm saying it calmly on here. It was nothing calm in the house when this happened. So I'm throwing stuff up against the wall. I remember I looked at the lamp. He looked at me looking at the lamp, and I think something in him realized, okay, I'm in pain, but if I don't get up, she's going to do something with that lamp. So he does get up. He is still on the phone with the aunt, because the aunt was pretty much like, keep me on the phone. She did not want him to hang up. He throws some stuff together. Again, keep in mind, he has all his stuff in the house. So he basically packed like 2 bags worth of clothes. And he's limping around, and I'm standing in the hallway watching him like a probation officer. So he's limping around, and I'm looking at the condition of the bedroom. This is when I noticed Legion had been semi-bedridden. Remember, I told y'all that, because the knee and other stuff. I look at these bottles of Powerade, because he had been drinking Powerade so much at this point. He was not getting up to go to the bathroom. He was drinking the Powerade and then using the empty bottles to pee in. So there was about 6 bottles around the bed. And I was like, what is this? Because again, I hadn't really been going in that room. I was busy being CIA, FBI, and Homeland Security for the past 2 weeks. So I was like, what is this? He was like, I'm going to throw it out. He grabbed a trash bag, put the bottles in there. And I said, what are in those bottles? I said, tell me. And I think I started like twitching. Like, tell me. That is not piss in those bottles. He was like, I couldn't make it to the bathroom. I was in too much pain. So at this point, I'm even more like, yeah, get the fuck out. Get out. Get out of my house. So I helped him. While he was packing his bags, I went downstairs. I took the house key off of his keys. I went back upstairs. He had his 2 bags. I grabbed the 2 bags. Yes, I did. I grabbed the 2 bags. I had opened up the garage. I had already popped the trunk for his car and threw the bags in the car. I did that because I was like, you getting out this house. You getting out this house today. You can't come back. You can't come back ever. So it took him about 2 hours from the time of I will beat you like the bitch you are for him to actually leave the house. Again, I'm calm telling y'all this story. It was not calm in the house. So he eventually puts on some sweatpants. Now I can really see how much weight he has lost. But he puts on some sweatpants. He puts on a shirt. He's limping down. He's like, you really gonna kick me out on my birthday? I just looked at him. Opened the door. He went through the garage, got into his car, called, his aunt was still on the phone, and she was like, I'm going to send you some money. And that's the part I was like, clearly he has the money. Like, you ain't got to send him money. He doesn't even have to go to Philly. He can just go get a hotel for now. I don't care what he does. He just got to leave his house. So he ends up getting in the car, driving off. My mom calls and she's just like, is he still there? I said no. I had not told her what all he had lied about. Even in the midst of me being angry and me going off, I never told him that I spoke to the ex-wife. I never told him I knew he was lying about the stepdaughter, because then he would have asked how, what makes you say that? So I did keep my word. I never told him I spoke to her. So he eventually left. I text a friend of mine. I text my landlord. I said, I have an emergency. I need to know if it is okay to get the locks changed. Landlord was like, that's fine. My landlord was super cool. Shout out to Mr. Patel. I went to Home Depot, bought brand new locks, text a friend of mine, asked him, when you get off work, can you please come by my house? I need the locks changed today. So he was like, oh, okay, what's going on? I said, I'll explain it later. So to give you a timeline of June 17th, when I asked him about San Diego State and I told him that I know you've never even been to California, that was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. By the time he left the house, it was maybe going on noon, 1 o'clock. So this happened pretty quickly. If you're wondering, why did you even ask him? I already knew that I wanted out. I knew that. But for some reason, a part of me was like, let's just see if he'll be honest just one last time. And he wasn't. And it sent me into a rage. And then he lied to his aunt saying, I ain't never lied to her. And that sent me over the edge. So by 1 o'clock, by 1:30, he was gone. By 2:30, I had done a pretty good job of cleaning up the bedroom. He had thrown away the Powerade bottles. So I didn't have to touch those. I stripped the sheets. Anything that he touched in that bedroom, I stripped the sheets, threw them in a trash bag, threw them out in the trash can. And so most of this was adrenaline. Adrenaline was pushed because I hate packing. I hate doing all that stuff. I went on Amazon. I ordered oversized, large tote bags because I was packing up all his shit. Part 35. Who the fuck did I marry? So I packed up all his stuff. Okay. The reason why I packed up all his stuff is because I had a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhome. One room was the guest room. Obviously, there was a master bedroom. And then we had a TV room that he had made like his Philadelphia Eagles man cave. I was going to put everything that belonged to him, pack it up, and put it in the TV room. Because the plan should have been that he's going to come back and get all his stuff. Okay? So that's why I did it. And honestly, it just felt good to pack up his stuff and go through it freely, because when he packed in a hurry, he left obviously really important things. He left all his Invicta watches. He left all his WWE championship belts. And if you know anything about WWE championship belts, you know those things are expensive. He left all his Jordans. He left suits. He left Cole Haan shoes. He left all that because it was such a hurry for him to leave. So all that was still in my house. So around 2:30, I think I wasn't even at a place where I could start crying. I was just too angry, still shaking, packing everything up. One of the things that he left is a photo album with all the pictures of his mom and dad and his siblings growing up. Now, I had the thought of I was going to have a burn party and I was going to put it on Facebook Live. I was going to burn it with my friends and drink and dance and play music. But it's his deceased parents. I do have a heart. So I put that somewhere special, meaning I put it up in the closet. He had told me that he was going to come back and get his stuff. And so I just did not, I didn't throw anything out unless it was like something I knew was trash. Other than that, I put everything up and kept it, in the TV room. So that's June 17th. Also on June 17th, I had already ordered his birthday cake. I had ordered the birthday cake like the end of May because it was like a special birthday cake. So I also had to go get the birthday cake from the bakery in East Point. And I took it to my family's house and we ate it. Yes, I had left the house, went to my family's house, filled them in, my aunt, my little cousin, and my grandfather, because my mom was in Arkansas. So went over to their house, filled them in on what was going on. They could not believe it. Although my grandfather then told me, he said, he ain't look like he was a football player. He was like, I didn't want to say nothing, but he ain't look like he was a football player. Gotta love grandparents. So we ate his birthday cake. Went back home. The friend that I had called came, changed all the locks, I changed the security codes. Effectively, he would not have been able to get in that house. So that is what happened on June 17th. So now we can fast forward. He would text me and he would call me that he got to Philly. Apparently he left Georgia and immediately went to Philly. So he immediately went to Philly, and he did text me and said that he made it to Philly and he was staying at his aunt's house. I know that this is a short part. That's okay, because what we're doing now is I went through how we met. I went through how we dated. I went through how we got married. Now I'm taking you all to June 17th. The week after June 17th, he's in Philly. He still would call me. He still would text me. The conversations we were having the week after June 17th, so this would be June 18th up to the 24th. The conversations we are having had to do with divorce. So who's going to file? And he was like, well, I don't want a divorce, so I'm going to fight you on it. Are you? Really? Are you going to fight me on the divorce? I didn't know anything about filing for a divorce. But I refused to stay in a place of ignorance. So I went online. There's a website that you can go to where you pay like a $239 fee. And you fill out basic information and you choose your state. And they will but they will make all your documents. All you got to do is print it out and take it to the court. And it is step-by-step directions. We didn't have any property with each other. We didn't have any kids with each other. So by the state of Georgia's standards, this should be an uncontested divorce. So the conversation that last week, the week of June 18th to the 24th, was about divorce. What stuff do you want to keep? Well, I'm going to come and get all my stuff. I just don't understand why you couldn't talk to me about it. I said, there's no room for talking because you've been lying to me since day one. But even still, keep in mind, as of June 17th, June 18th, June 19th, I did not know what I know now. So the lies were really only like 5% of the whole story. So June 24th or 25th is when I had printed my documents. And I'm laughing because at this point in time, I've read y'all's comments about how that man will print out stuff. I know. But I used the website, typed all my stuff in, got my documents, and then I went. I took a day off from the job because I was getting ready to transition into the new job. So I left work early, went to the courthouse, and filed for divorce. I filed. I paid. And then I already had the documents where he would have needed to sign so that it could then be entered into for a divorce settlement agreement. So going into part 36 or 35, I know there's so many parts. Going into the next part is where I can tell you guys what happened with him, because he drove to Philly and he was in Philly for about a week, maybe 3 to 4 days. Then I get a message on Facebook Messenger from a woman claiming to be his cousin. Lord Jesus. So the cousin tells me, actually I can tell y'all. So the cousin tells me that he's there. He's telling the family that I kicked him out. He's telling the family that I kicked him out after he walked in on me having an affair. That I stole his money and I then kicked him out. And the man I was having an affair with, he said was a law enforcement officer who used his duty weapon to threaten him to get out the house. This is what he told his family. And the cousin was reaching out to me. She found me through a search on Facebook and was reaching out to me because she's like, we know he lies. So I'm just trying to figure out is this true? Because he's up here asking us for money, asking to stay on our couches. Like, what's going on? Then she explained to me, we didn't even know he got married. So this is the first time we're hearing about you. What do you mean you didn't know he got married? He talks to his brother every day. She said, who told you that? I said, I've heard him talk to his brother every day. All his brothers. She said, all his brothers? How many brothers do you think he has? I said, he has 4 brothers. I named them. She said, he has 2 brothers. She said, he has the twin and he has the older brother. I said, twin? Who is the twin? Welcome to the next part where we discover the real family tree. Part 36, who the fuck did I marry? The family tree. Please fasten your seatbelts and put the tray tables in the upright position. Let's go. All right. The cousin, I'm not going to name her. The cousin had reached out to me on Facebook, asked me to please give her a call. So this conversation was on the phone. Yes, I was actually speaking to her. She informs me again about the whole he's up there. He's telling everyone that he walked in on me cheating on him. It was with a law enforcement officer, and that the law enforcement officer used his duty weapon to threaten him to get him out of the house. The reason why I'm particularly mentioning the fact that he said it was law enforcement is because he was trying to get a family member, like one of his cousins, to call the agency of the law enforcement officer and file a complaint, which in hopes would then start an internal affairs investigation. Yeah. So, female cousin's on the phone with me. She's telling me everything that he is telling them. She's like, look, we know he a liar. We don't fuck with him. He's been a liar since a kid, but he's also family. She said, we didn't know at all who you are. So I thought that was interesting because I was like, you didn't know who I was, but his brother knew who I was. And so, again, that's when I said to her that I was like, he's talked to his brother every day. So why wouldn't the brother tell y'all that he had gotten married? And so she said, what brother? And so I told her the brother's name. And she said, he told you that? I said, he was having the phone calls in front of me. So at this point, what the cousin said was, she was like, okay, I'm going to confirm that with him. She was like, he lives up the street, so I'm going to just confirm that with him. She was like, because I'm pretty sure that they have been beefing for a while. I was like, I can only tell you what I saw, what I heard. That's all I can say. So then when she asked me about, well, how many brothers do you think he has? And I said, he has 4 brothers. Again, I listed all of them. This woman was like, he has 2 brothers. She said he has the twin And he has the older brother, the one that he was on the phone with every morning, blah, 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 blah. I said, twin? Who's the twin? So this is where she explained to me. She said the parents, mom and dad, had the older brother. The older brother is about 5 or 6 years older than Legion. Legion and the younger brother, who lives in Nashville, they are twins. So when he kept saying the younger brother, my younger brother by 2 years, it's his older brother by 20 minutes. They are twins. I have seen a picture of this brother. Yes, they do very much look alike, but I didn't know they were twins. It doesn't even matter. I didn't know they were twins. But definitely they had the same mom and dad. So she was like, no, that he's older than Legion by 20 minutes. They're twins. She said, so the parents had 3 boys. Brother in Philly, the older brother, and the twins. She was like, who the hell are these sisters that you're talking about? So I tell her, I was like, Shantae and Kim. She said, I don't know who Shantae is. She said, Kim is my daughter. Kim is not his sister. Kim is my daughter. And she said, that's his cousin. She was like, and they haven't spoken in about 20 years. So, no, that's not his sister. He does not have any sisters. And I said, well, then what about the other 2 brothers? She was like, what other 2 brothers? I said, the brothers from his dad. She was like, you mean to tell me this man is going around telling people, I know somebody's going to quote Nicki Minaj, lying on your dead mama, but try not to. She says, you mean to tell me this man is walking around lying on his dad, saying that his dad had kids outside of his mom? And I kind of stuttered like, yeah. She was like, he does not. She said, I have no idea who those 2 men are. She said, those are not his brothers. But if y'all remember, I've met those 2. And he introduced them as, you know, man, this is my brother John. This is my brother Matt, you know, type thing. And so they both were like, oh, my sister, is good to meet you. It's good to meet you. Remember that, because obviously I do eventually talk to those 2 men again. So she says to me, the family tree is mom and dad, the 3 sons. She was like, there are no sisters. She said, I don't have a clue who Shantae is. She said, Kim is my daughter, so that's just their cousin. But again, they ain't spoken 20 years. I said, okay. And then there was the grandmother. She said, yeah. She named the grandmother. She was like, yeah, she died in like 2008. I said, yeah, he told me that she died in 2020. And that, you know, all of you were coming down for the memorial service. And she's just like, she died in 2008. I said, then there was the uncle who also died from COVID. She was like, which uncle is that? I told her the name. She said, he's been dead since like, 2010. I said, okay, what about the cousin nicknamed Junebug? Everybody got a cousin. If you're not African American, we all know a Junebug somewhere. And she just was like, oh yeah, you know, cousin Junebug. She was like, man, that's crazy what happened to him. And I was like, what do you mean what happened to him? Because I know he has talked to his cousin Junebug on the phone like a few months prior. He was like, and so she said to me, she said, yeah, he had passed away in like 2016. So this is now 3 people that she's naming that I recall him having either a story about or a phone call with, and she's telling me that they are all passed away. So this is when the conversation kind of changes, and she's like, you know what? She said, let me speak to the older brother because he probably wants to talk to you. She was like, you probably should talk to him, and a lot of your questions will get answered. She was like, this dude's been lying ever since he was a kid. She was like, she said, literally, we don't fuck with him. I remember her saying that verbatim. She was so adamant. She was like, and when he showed up here out the blue, talking about how his wife cheated on him with a law enforcement officer, and how the guy took his gun out and threatened him to leave the house. She was like, we knew something was up. She was like, that's why I had to find out who you were and reach out to you and find out the truth. I said, there was no other guy. There was no law enforcement officer. And she was like, yeah, because he was telling us where the dude worked and how we should go ahead and help him file a complaint so that this dude could lose his job. I said, there is no other person. I said, I kicked him out. That was me, all by myself. No gun, just my fist. And so she said, he's telling us that he had gotten married, and then she was like, apparently y'all had a baby. So she was like, so you got a kid with him? So I had to explain to her. I said, no. I said I had a miscarriage back in June of 2020, and I had to have surgery in July. So she was just like, girl. So she started really being encouraging and was saying, you dodged a bullet, honey. She was like, I don't wish this. She's like, I know he my family, but I don't wish him on no woman. So we've had each other's numbers. She was like, if you need anything, please feel free to call me. She was like, I've had my own issues with him. I've had my own issues in life. But she was like, get your divorce and be done with him. Then she said, I'm going to put you in contact with the older brother. Next part is me finally talking to the older brother that he had been talking to every morning. You were hearing is correct. He drove from Georgia to Philly, stayed in Philly for about 3-4 days, left Philly, drove back to Georgia, went to Augusta. Keep in mind, if you have lost your notes at this point, he was raised in Philly and did high school in Augusta before he went to California. So he has family in Augusta. So at this point, he's on his way to Augusta to stay with a new set of people. The reason why this is important is because what I have is a divorce settlement agreement. That divorce settlement agreement has to be signed by the two of us, where we are basically telling the court, look, this is what he's keeping, this is what I'm keeping. I need his signature. Let me repeat that. I need his signature because I wanted a very quick and painless divorce, as much as it could be. So by this time, this is now around June 25th. So around June 25th, he's now in Augusta. He had left the house June 17th. So between June 17th and June 24th is the trip to Philly, then leaving Philly, coming to Augusta. My aunt and my little cousin get in the car with me and I drive to Augusta with a rag on my head, some sweatpants, and a tank top because it's July, so it's hot. But we ride to Augusta. I had spoken to him. I had said, I just need you to sign this piece of paper. And he was like, I'll get to it when I get to it. No. We're going to get to it as quickly as possible. So if that means I got to drive to Augusta tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, I'm going to do that because I need that signature. I ain't tell him this. This was my attitude. Sure enough, went ahead, drove down there. I met him at the UPS store in Augusta. It's in the same Kroger shopping center. They had a notary there because I needed the papers to be notarized. So he pulls up. It's only been a week since I last saw him. It has been months since my aunt saw him. Okay. She had no idea of the condition that he was in. Again, I'm telling y'all, when I met him, when he met my family, he was like a size 3X. In just a short span of time for a week, he easily could have been in an extra large, maybe even a large, but was wearing 3X clothes. So he has told me this whole time, he didn't know I had spoken to his family. Okay, probably need to put that in there. He did not know I had spoken to his cousin. So he was telling me that he had a place to stay. He was staying with some family members, and everything was cool. He told me he was going back to Augusta because he had a job. That's what he told me. The family member, the cousin, told me, oh no, it's not that he had a job. We kicked his ass out because he's still lying, and we don't want anything to do with him. So when I saw him get out the car, I immediately knew, you probably have not washed in 3 days. I'm not overreacting. His nails had not been cut, so his nails were a bit long. He smelled like the Chattahoochee dump on a hot summer Georgia day. He stunk so bad. And for a moment, I did not recognize the man that I was legally married to. I did not recognize him. He almost looked, what's the word? Emaciated. I may be mispronouncing it, but the way someone looks when they have lost so much weight and it's almost like your skin and bones. He looked homeless. He smelled homeless. And my heart just kind of broke. It kind of did. I'll be honest, it kind of broke. It did not break enough for me to not get that signature though. So when he walked into the UPS store, you clearly could see that some of the people were like, let me get away from him. Me, I just was like, okay, so I just need you to sign right here, and I just need you to sign right there. Okay, and then a woman named Lauren came over and notarized the papers, and then we were done because he signed the divorce agreement. He didn't even read it. Reason why I'm pointing that out is because he didn't read the part where what's left in the house now belongs to me. Where he took technically what he was going to take. Everything else in that home belongs to me. Remember, I told y'all he had left all his Invicta watches. He had left all his WWE championship belts, his Jordans, a lot of his clothes, his Cole Haans. He had left all that stuff. He never even read the divorce agreement. So he signed it. I signed it. Lauren notarized it. We leave the store and I said, have you eaten? And he was like, yeah, I ate. It's just, my knee. So again, he's talking about the knee, but if you saw him, you would know there's way more to it than the knee. So I said to him, look, since you met me here, let me give you some money so you can get you some chicken nuggets. Yeah, that's what I said. You can get you some chicken nuggets. So I believe I gave him like $5 or $6. Go get you some chicken. I think I Zelled it to him, actually. Just go get you some food. Then because where he parked was not far. It was like, okay, I'm parked here. He's parked in front of me in the other row. So there's that aisle that you can drive down. So I walked him to the car. And I saw the condition of the inside of the car. And that's when I knew he's been living in his car. He's been living in his car. So clearly, I no longer had a question of, so where's his offshore account? Where's the U.S. bank savings account? Where's the checking account? Didn't have that question anymore. Because if you had money, you wouldn't be living in your car. You would not be in the same clothes that you were in when you left my house on June 17th. And this is now June 25th. So he was like, I'm going to be all right. I'm about to start a new job. I'm going to be cool. I got a family member I can stay with. Everything's going to be okay. All right. I said, I will let you know when the divorce is granted. I said, I will send you a copy of the divorce decree. And he was like, okay. He said, well, how long you think that's going to take? I said, I'm not sure. I thought I had to wait 30 days before I could file the divorce agreement settlement form. And then the judge would grant it in 30 days. So basically, this is like June 25th. I'm looking at the end of August that it would take for the divorce to be granted, assuming there were no hiccups, assuming he didn't decide he was going to pull a fast one. So I told him, I was like, I'm going to file this, and then once we get the divorce decree, I'll send you a copy. He said, okay. He got in his car. I got in my car. I drove all the way back home, and he went to wherever he went. Next part is the next series of lies that I was faced with.